Good evening and welcome to another episode of On the Sofa. I'm Monja and tonight Susan and I are joined by the guru himself, Oskar.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for having me.
We're very excited to have you on our sofa tonight. So Oskar has over 10 years of expertise and has won multiple awards for excellence in the wedding industry. So tonight we'll be delving into weddings, tartan, Scottish weddings, and learning a bit of styling details and lots of fun wedding facts, I'm sure. And you might have seen recently, and we had the pleasure of working with Oskar on a beautiful photo shoot. So you might have seen on our Instagram, and Macaroni's brought a few photos up there of some of our wraps and scarves sort of styled into a beautiful shoot in Edinburgh. So watch out for more photos coming soon as well.
Okay.
Oskar.
Yes, shall we get started?
Indeed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, brilliant. Okay, so I guess what a good way to sort of get this kicked off is maybe for you to tell us a wee bit about yourself, about your business and how it got started.
Fantastic. I really appreciate you inviting me for this interview. I've been gearing up to give some weight to weddings and the use of tartan Scottish elements in weddings as well. For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Oskar. As Monja mentioned before, I'm the wedding guru Oskar. That's my official branding for the wedding planning that I do. I've been involved in the wedding industry since 2009, initially running, delivering and coordinating weddings on the day of the special occasion, and that really kind of gave me quite a good just to go operational understanding of weddings. After which I was very lucky to look after 3 stunning city centre properties for what used to be the principal hotel company, now IHG Hotels here in the city. And that's when I really got into the nitty-gritty of wedding planning. I looked after over 130 weddings across the 3 properties each year.
You'd be busy.
Yeah, very busy at times. I remember those weekends where there was like 5 weddings a weekend, running between the hotels, making sure that things were happening to plan. But that's when I got really into the kind of back of house understanding of wedding planning specifically. I looked at couples from engagement, pretty much, but not quite. From the moment inquiry, consultations, menu tastings, final details, and being there for them on the day as well. And it was during that time that, as you've mentioned, Monja, I've been very lucky and humbled by my wedding planning couples to recognise me with 3 Scottish Vows Awards, Scottish Hotel Award, and most recently my award from the Wedding Emporium for the Outstanding Wedding Planning in 2021 as well. But then we got to 2018, I got married, I loved everything weddings, we're international wedding directory, remotely looking after the Scottish properties and suppliers here, but they were based in Cork in Ireland. The maternity leave cover, so it ended after a year. I'm still hungry to get back into weddings, but what I really enjoyed in my career was actually dealing with wedding planning couples. And the idea of the wedding guru came up, and I decided to jump the ship and begin in November 2019, shortly before COVID hit.
Well timed.
Who would have thought, back then. But I haven't looked back. It's been, the challenges that COVID has brought is one thing, but it's been a wonderful journey over there. And so much there is. We're very lucky here in Scotland with the wedding industry. We've got fantastic suppliers, wonderful wedding venues. I mean, you hear around the world about the Scottish castles, the Scottish wedding experience, the Scottish hospitality. So it's been a journey in itself, absolutely. And for the past 2 years, wedding planning and consulting for some of the venues here locally. And most recently this year, I qualified as a humanist celebrant as well. So a bit of a spectrum of things that I can help couples with, but hopefully that gives a good introduction to begin with.
Absolutely. A good round up of your background.
It's been a while.
Just makes you well more experienced for catering to every element, really, of a wedding finish. So
really interesting, and over the years it's been big, small weddings, international weddings, nation weddings. It's been cultural weddings as well. It's just such a joy being part of the most important element of couple's life, effectively. So
absolutely.
a fantastic journey, and I recommend to anyone that's considering wedding planning or getting married in Edinburgh rather, to obviously speak to us and get involved as well.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
You can ask us questions as we go.
Yes,
If you've got anything to put to Oskar, then we can certainly ask those for you. So you have mentioned your very iconic name, the Wedding Guru. How did you come up with that?
So this is quite an interesting story. I've worked for these 3 iconic city centre properties here in Edinburgh, and at the time I was very fortunate to work very closely with our group with sales director for the UK, Kelly Mortimer, and Kelly looked after over 50 properties for us, and she was training, she was looking after us, she was looking after the wedding planning side of things, so that we would deliver the right service to our planning couples. And in that relationship, very quickly, Kelly identified that we in Edinburgh were performing above anyone else in the country for city centre properties. And probably a year into the role with us, she went on maternity leave, and it was at the time that Kelly was looking for a bit of support. Kelly was based in, is still based in Surrey, just outside of London, and she wanted to have that person overlooking the Scottish properties and the city properties throughout the UK. And she came up with this title of the Wedding Gurus. So she split the 50 properties between the 4 wedding gurus, and the senior people in the company that could give advice, mentorship to our younger starting colleagues in the group. And that's where it kind of started, with the wedding gurus of the principal brand. And then when I was looking for ideas on how to name my business, I decided to actually, as I said, jump that ship. I was going round and round in circles, and nothing had the ring to it. And then I met one of my hairdressers for fashion shows that we used to do at wedding fairs. And she said, "You know how you used to be called the Wedding Guru at the Principal Hotel?" I said, yeah, that was, we did the job, we looked after our coordinators. She said, "Imagine if that was your brand name." And I was like, "Do you know what? Yes, that's it. That ticks so many boxes for me. Let's run with it." And it's a recognizable name. I thought for wedding planning couples, the Wedding Guru means it comes with quite a lot of experience and education. And it's not, I was trying to think of other names. It comes up in mind if you've maybe spoken to me so long ago, or maybe came across my social media before, and 6 months down the line you're thinking, "Oh, we've seen this guy. What was his name? The Wedding Guru." It's a ring to it. It's so much easier to work. So it just made so much sense as well.
The stylist must be chuffed as well.
Yes, she is. I was like, that was your job. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I guess because it's so multifaceted too as well. It's not just one part, one element. So this has been a very difficult question. Is there an element that you love the most about your job? That is difficult.
There's probably not one.
Yeah.
There's a few elements to my job that I love the most, but I think what makes my job so exciting is actually speaking with newly engaged couples who are feeling a little bit vulnerable at times, maybe overwhelmed, feeling a little bit lost in this world that for us is just second nature. But for very many wedding planning couples, this will be their first ever event that they will be planning. And coming to you with that trust and believe in you that you can help solve a lot of, or come up with so many different concerns, is a fantastic place to be in. So those initial conversations, and introducing that enthusiasm that, you know, it might be a big job, but actually when you break things down and you look at this and you look at that, there's so many things that can help the process is very important. But that's the start of the journey. What I really, really love, and quite often in this events wedding industry, we're quite often referred to as the adrenaline junkies, is being there on the day and actually thriving on the energy that's there, and the adrenaline that pumps through your heart, and actually seeing things happen on the day, and actually, you know, seeing couples' faces going into their wedding ceremony, coming to their ceremony, beaming with joy, love, and enthusiasm and charisma about their special day. That's what makes the job very, very unique and special as well.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
It must be really good as well that you never go to the same event twice. Everything is, I mean, I'm sure, very, very different. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Every event is very different. And I think, you know, what you said, Monja, about difference, I think this is becoming a lot more transparent now, is that there's a massive focus on uniqueness and introducing something different into weddings as well. So it'll be interesting coming out of lockdown.
Absolutely. See how things go, hopefully very soon.
Fingers crossed.
So I'm just going to quickly check, because I'm not sure if we've locked in. So I've got hello Kelly in Phoenix. I've got Thelma in Germany. We've got Demir and John. And then I've also got Anne, Matthew and Nettie all joining us. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Learning all about wedding. It's a very upbeat, positive episode we've got, rather than our lots of love in the weddings. So you mentioned that you got married in 2018. Did you plan your own wedding, and was that sort of daunting coming from a wedding planning position into doing your own? Yeah, how was that?
100%. I think the pressure is major on people who want work in the industry. And because by that point I will have been in the industry for 9 years, the expectation was that I was going to be the party of the century. Many people have said, and I think the difficult. So yes, we did plan. I did plan our wedding for us, for George and I. You have to compromise in wedding planning, something that I will recommend to all of you wedding planning couples. You need to find a common ground, and sometimes, you know, take a step back as well. But the joy of wedding planning, you know, coming to those decisions and making those very important decisions. But yes, I have planned the wedding, and what was very challenging and interesting for me was actually being on the receiving end of it, and actually, because I've been in the industry for so long, the choice is vast, and that's why I kind of now appreciate it a little bit more, that couples can feel overwhelmed because there's such a vast variety of choices and options available, and how do you decide what's appropriate, what works for you, how you want to. Thank you very much for showing our ceremony photos as well. It was very,
such a big, it's such a occasion that, like you say, if there's so much choice, what if it's the wrong choice?
And you know, we felt a lot of the time, do we go over the top, or does it define us as a couple? You know, you don't want to go overboard with things as well. But we found it a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. You know, menu tastings, going to cake tastings, going with our girls for dress fit-ins, and trying on kilts and coming up with tartan elements to the wedding as well. So that was exciting. But yeah, it was a lot of pressure. I would want to say that we've delivered on the expectations. I mean, we've gone from, you know, a very different ceremony setup, thanks to one of our local florists in here, Roseparks. Leanne suggested this pagoda in the centre, which you've seen shortly a few moments ago on the screen. It was a central round pagoda in the centre of the room. We were arriving with our mums from opposite entrances at the same time, and it was a Y-shaped aisle. So we arrived into the middle, and we departed down the middle aisle outside of the ceremony at the end of that.
Beautiful.
So there's a lot of kind of symbolism in the ceremony as well. And yeah, it was a lot kind of coming up with ideas and having to be mindful of entertainment. I always say to couples, we made sure that there was a magician to entertain our guests as we were away for photos. We made sure that there was sweet treats in the evening. We had donut wall, sweet cards. We had Polaroid cameras, interactive games for guests to do as well. Because, I've been there at weddings where you kind of left for that 1 hour of photo shoot.
Yeah.
And you're thinking what to do. If there's some entertainment, that time flies by as well. So I think we've delivered on quite a few things. We did a few surprises. I'm originally from Poland, so the wedding was heavily themed on the celebration of two cultures, bringing two cultures together. We wanted to educate the Scottish and the Polish guests about the opposite cultures. We did a surprise stance changing into our Polish outfits for the first dance.
Nice.
And did that as well. So it was a lot of fun. I'd like to look back at the photo albums and films and stuff from the wedding. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Was it something then that you'd sort of in your 9 previous years sort of tucked ideas away from, or was it sort of a brand new slate when you came to plan your own?
It was. You're absolutely right, Monja. You kind of observe in this position that I am in, and you will have that same thing, when you're going to events nowadays or planning your family events as well. When you're looking at tartan, you'll look at it from a slightly different perspective, and you'll know what works, what doesn't. Yeah. So observing that over the years, I was quick to pick up, right, this will go, but do we go as far as this, or do we want to kind of tone it down a little bit? Just kind of looking at all elements and seeing how that matches together. George is incredibly creative, which is where his influence on my business comes as well. He will come up with some fantastic, brilliant ideas as well. When we were renovating our house at the start of the year, that was George's favourite thing, picking colours, paints, carpets, florins, everything else like that. That was George. So his creative mind works. He used to work with a florist as a merchandiser as well. So that helps in my business as well.
Yeah.
Always helps to have having second input. That's
it's
so
important,
creative.
Especially when you're a small business. Partnerships like that work fantastically, and when you've got a creative mind in your household, it always helps. Sometimes we've got our own things, but
it's okay.
99% of the time we love to work together.
I can't agree on everything all the time.
Yes, and I guess you mentioned there small business, independent business, and I guess there's no avoiding it. We've chatted about it as sort of 15 months, COVID, lockdown, regulations, etc. It's affected all businesses. How has it been for you, and how have you had to adapt? Are there any things that you've changed that you think actually I might sort of carry a bit,
100%. I think the power of technology, as we are coming to you in your living rooms today, has been absolutely fantastic. Coming into my own business shortly before COVID, I had a very particular idea of how the business was to shape up, and very quickly that had to change. But I would like to think that, quite often I want to think on top of my toes and come up with creative solutions and stuff like that, which is why I've got Susan and joining me tomorrow evening for my own section of guest speaker interviews as well. And it was actually at the start of lockdown. We've gone through lockdown in March last year, and very quickly this could be going on for 3 weeks, but it could be going for a lot longer. And hello, we're still here.
We're still here.
Hopefully not for much longer. But my understanding was, there's not going to be an awful lot of opportunity for especially young new business going into the market. And although I had reputation going behind me, I was coming up with a new brand effectively. So it's very important for me to market myself and being available there, which is why I came up with online events. Initially, April and May, we did this in more of an online wedding fair format, where all of the suppliers I worked with at the time had the task of coming up with advice-given pieces, workshops and things like that. I was not interested in a wedding brochure. I was more interested in actually couples learning some educational content from suppliers. But then that worked in effect for me where I became so busy that I couldn't commit myself as much, which is why I decided to come up with the idea of interviews. Those happening weekly on Thursdays at 6 p.m. where I'm going to have Susan and Monja tomorrow evening joining me as well. But again, focusing on introducing extraordinary people behind those businesses and actually for couples to be able to meet the people that are working these businesses and learning their advice, experience firsthand as well was super important. So that was one adaptability there for me. It was very much working with local suppliers here and working with. We've been very lucky in the wedding industry that very quickly we all came together, which is a fantastic thing to see in the industries. You know, before COVID, we never had a body that's mediated on our behalf. Funnily enough, through lockdown, we've all put our heads together and we've come up with this fantastic organisation called the Scottish Wedding Industry Alliance, which, you know, mediates on our behalf with the Scottish Government on regulations and so on and so forth. And the network of businesses involved has been fantastic, and actually getting to work together on best solutions to the challenge that's been put in front of us has been incredible. So having that body that helped with that was brilliant. But, you know, being very quick to respond to what was happening. I think that's, again, this connection, this network came closer that now, you know, back in the day I would maybe have sent an email to suppliers, whereas now I pick up the phone and I just phone them or I drop them a Facebook message, and we are so quick to respond to help each other. And this is brilliant, because even the relationship we've got now with the ScotlandShop has been fantastic, because it was about supporting each other in what's been, you know, a challenging year and a half for us all, and working together. Hence why we've worked on fantastic photo shoots, and you know, and putting ourselves out there and showcasing the best in the wedding industry sector here in Scotland locally as well.
It's, I mean, produced beautiful results, I think. So
absolutely, I just loved doing the photo shoot, and it's quite interesting how it came about, because it was very important for us to be the Scottish element, the Edinburgh city elopement, and I just knew that we need to have a Scottish element included in that. And you know, we had this conversation before the interview. We were talking about, you know, boleros and stuff like that, but I feel like this is something that happens in a specific setting. We weren't looking for that look, and having the wraps, having the shawls, having the scarves with us as well, it just elevated the look a little bit and brought a bit of energy, vibrancy and colour as well. And we've used so many different options there in the photo shoot as well. It just looked absolutely fantastic. We've been very lucky with the weather on that day as well.
Especially with how our summer is currently going, and at least it was a dry day. So what sort of advice would you give a couple that are trying to plan their wedding, I guess, in a COVID situation with all these rules? How do you approach the rules at the moment, I guess?
I would have probably had a different advice if we spoke at the end of last year or even at the start of lockdown last year. I would have been a lot more careful with things. Now, I do feel a lot more confident and what's the word I'm looking for? A lot more just confident in general and positive about moving forward with wedding planning. Obviously, as it stands today, we're still looking at some level of restrictions until the 9th of August, but from what the government is telling us thus far is that, you know, weddings back to normality as of the 9th of August, which is very exciting, something we've got a date to look forward to. Obviously, it's all subject to anything that could happen. It's not a set in stone date, but it's a milestone in the process for sure. A milestone that we've all been looking forward to so long now. So for those couples that are still concerned and worried, I would say, you know, I'm dealing with couples this September, I'm dealing with couples for this October and November as well. And they've been saying to me, should we be looking at lower numbers? Should we be looking at entertainment in the evening reception? Should we be looking at, table allocations, providing sanitizers for our tables as favours, or maybe face masks for a guest that might forget them? I'm saying plan for eventualities, but plan for no COVID anymore, because effectively we are in a very good place now. Vaccination is going on track, and we're seeing a lot better response to vaccinations as well. Testing is in a lot better place as well. So I'm thinking by 9th of August, you will be having fantastic weddings again. We'll see a lot more people on the dance floor. We will see a lot more entertainment at weddings as well. And I think, let's not kill enthusiasm in you. Let's progress with wedding as planned. Let's reinvigorate this idea of fun weddings without restrictions, and let's look forward to weddings again. So put that behind you. Let's plan forward. Let's move forward. Let's be positive. And yes, if you want to have some precautionary measures there, by all means, it's good to be prepared. But I want you to feel enthusiastic, motivated, and excited for your weddings again. 100%.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's great. And have you seen, has there been any sort of trends that have come out of the past 15 months, 15, 16 months, anything notable? Certainly.
Definitely. I think what's very transparent to all of us these days, and I know I'm kind of dragging back to technology, is a useful tool in weddings and just events in general. Now, there might have been in the past, older family members that couldn't have attended weddings. Now, they would have been excluded back in the day, whereas now, with the power of Zoom and live streaming, we've got another source of sharing the experience with a broader range of guests. Travel might not be back to normal yet. We don't know where we stand with travel, but the travel is no longer an issue if you can have people joining in on a ceremony, during speeches, all these important elements of your special day as well. So the use of technology will be a lot greater going forward as well. Mistake that I've made with George in our wedding planning, we didn't take a videographer. A massive regret of both of ours on reflection. Something that I see a lot of couples now putting a lot of significance on and importance on as well. So a lot more couples are now leaning towards having a photographer and videographer on their special day, so they can celebrate and rewatch the celebration, share it with family that couldn't have maybe attended as well. But another thing that I would want to say is that, in my opinion, because of what's happened over the past year and a half, the definition of weddings has changed for a lot of couples as well. We had this focus on big, great, grand parties, and I think we're all looking forward to them. We want to be back on the dance floor celebrating. But I think a lot of couples have reevaluated what's important to them and have maybe changed their plans a little bit. And I think because of what we've observed through COVID, I see a lot more couples now maybe not going the 100, 200 guest numbers, maybe going the micro weddings are here to stay.
Smaller,
grand big weddings, big parties as well. But I think there's going to be a massive market for micro weddings, weddings of 30 to 60 guests, weddings that will focus on more sustainable and meaningful elements to their celebrations, and actually celebrating the act of marriage more so than the entertainment side of things as well. So I think that's a trend that we will see kind of transferring in the future as well.
It's quite a nice thing to come out of it,
100%.
And I guess with planning is probably, like you said, it's smaller and it's much more of an experience is where you come in.
100%. I think experiences are going to be important to couples as well.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've got a few more people joining us, so
fantastic.
I'll have a little peek and see. So we've got Karen from Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining us. And we've got Renee, Gary, Sandy, and Amanda as well. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So, Oskar, you've spoken sort of generally about a lot of your weddings. Can you tell us about one of your more memorable memorable or more unusual weddings maybe?
Are you
that you've
allowed
done?
to?
If
You're
you
allowed to
can,
tell
if you
us.
can.
That's the challenge. So
Without giving too many details
Yeah.
away.
yes, it is. It is challenging because I can't say that I've had one
Yeah.
particular wedding that I love the most or the most memorable or such. I think every wedding in a way is unique and special, and memories that are still in my head. Quite often, even walking with George into town and I bump into my host, we'll have a catch up and then we'll walk away. And I'll say, that was, X, Y, and Z on this and that day. I still remember their wedding. George is like, how do you remember after so long these weddings? I think this is where it's different for a lot of weddings. Weddings, you build relationship with couples. It's a longer lead time and you're involved in these very important decision making in the process as well. It's a complete relationship. I still keep in touch with my couple. Couples get in touch when their babies are born. They're getting in touch on their big days, and we still keep in touch and partake sometimes even in each other's lives events as well, which is exciting. But yeah, a few to bring up. I did a wonderful wedding for a couple in November 2016. At the Intercontinental de George here in Edinburgh. And I remember when now Mr. and Mrs. Love, if Amanda is sure you're watching us today, I always go back to your story.
Hello, Tivo.
The wedding was beautiful, but what kind of really just impressed me so much was the shared love for each other, and that was a very meaningful wedding for me because you could see how much in love they were with each other. The first dance, they were literally resonating that love feeling in the room. And Stuart surprised Amanda with a little gift on the morning of the wedding, right after she was getting her hair and makeup done, and it was a little box which was filled in with little confettis and little elements. But then when Amanda pulled it out, there was 2 turtle doves.
Oh my God!
Wow.
And there was a lovely personal message from Stuart to Amanda, and I could see her well and feeling emotional about it. Such a special moment in their wedding that I still recall to this day. Such a romantic moment in the wedding planning. I've also experienced, real life-size cupids scattered in rose petals down the aisle of the apple. I mean, you've heard about the what do they call them now? The flower. It's not it's flower girls and it's the flower boots.
Oh,
it's quite a trend nowadays as well. This is becoming popular. And that's a story I've got. I had a couple who were getting married, and I was still at venues at the time. The supplier came in, dressed the venue. We were about to go in for the meal, and I always brought in the couple to see the room before the guests go on tables. Opportunity for a mock cake cut and a few photos against the backdrop of the room they designed actively. And I remember the bride walking in. Emma, if you're watching us today, Emma walked into the room and she said, "Oh no, this is not the right colour of chair ties." And I could see the disappointment in her face, and I thought, "Oh my God, we're just about to call for dinner. That's something that you've organised for the wedding." I said, "Listen, what's the name of the supplier? This is the name of the supplier. Blah blah blah. Enjoy your day, enjoy your meal. I'm going to arrange for the supplier to come back during the evening turnaround and change for the other colour that you've decided on for your chair ties." And you can say to your guests that you had 2 different themes for the day and night time. She loved it. She had the best time. She said, "I'm so glad that I've listened to you. We had a brilliant design for the daytime. We had a different design for the night." It created a bit of a wow factor during the evening reception going in for the first dance. They had a fantastic time as well. Other stories, a fantastic story not that long ago, COVID related as well. Donna and Mark, if you're watching us, good to have you guys. But Donna and Mark have been faced with so many challenges through COVID. We planned for a wedding on the 1st of January. Donna is originally from the States, and the wedding was concentrated around the Hoggy Festival.
Nice.
lovely.
The wedding was always planned later in the day on the 1st of January, so the family could come along, join the Hogmanay party, the street party here, get involved in the winter festival here, followed by their wedding on the 1st of January. They were supposed to go on the Mediterranean cruise on the 3rd of January, so it was all aligned and planned there. Now, by August 2020, their venue decided that they weren't continuing, unfortunately, at which point Donna and Mark reached out to me. We found the venue very quickly. We've identified what they were looking at, how to replicate their special day. Everything was locked in. We were good to go. Then restrictions made us realign the plans for the special day as well. Travel was restricted, and then wedding was supposed to be 1st of January. On the 19th of December, First Minister announced lockdown on Boxing Day. So that was an announcement nobody was looking forward to, especially around Christmas time. So now we had a situation where Donna's mum and dad travelled from the States for flight cancellations, and they made it to the UK. They had to go through 10-day quarantine. And I said to Donna, Donna was asking what to do, and I said, I don't want you to walk away from your wedding thinking we've not done it. Your parents are here, everything's ready. Donna was making her own dress, her daughter's dresses as well. I said, if we postpone the wedding, your parents will need to fly away and come back for it. The dresses might not fit the girls. That was a big concern at the time as well. And everything's organised. How about we shift the wedding? And we did. Within a couple of hours, I had the entire wedding moved to the Christmas Eve, and they had the best Christmas wedding that you could have ever imagined. It was such a beautiful celebration. All the important people that were supposed to be there were there, and I just couldn't have imagined it to have gone any better. So, challenges there, but what a fantastic story. And we've done a couple of vlogs and videos from their wedding as well. So, yeah, guys, if you're looking for a bit of inspiration about COVID weddings, Donna and Mark have been my fantastic. And what I loved about them was that they'd never given up on the idea. They were pushing ahead. It was happening. They were concerned at times, but we just made it happen for them. So
that's brilliant, and they've got
That's
that story
such
to
a nice
tell.
story.
For years and years to come.
But I could be talking for hours.
I guess, but like you say, because it's over such a long period, and you know them so well, that just to sort of think, well, there's one. I mean, each one has its own sort of unique place with you, certainly.
Yeah,
100%.
it'll be special in different ways.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, we're going to move on a wee bit and talk about tartan.
Yes.
So do you get a lot of requests from your couples about tartan as part of wedding planning?
100%. I think Scottish wedding is all about tartan and involving the Scottish tradition here. I think it's about obviously understanding tartans. There's depending on where weddings are coming from. I do get a few weddings from the States, a few weddings from the Middle East and Asia as well, and sometimes family connections to Scotland. I had a lovely example there. I'm planning a wedding, actually a celebration for a couple whose bride, they live in Seattle, Mariah, but actually I didn't realise at the beginning, Stuart is originally from Glasgow, and they met here when Mariah was studying in Edinburgh, but actually her grandparents emigrated years ago from Glasgow. She's got a connection to Glasgow. I didn't know, couldn't tell. Obviously, she's got an American accent as well. But we were looking at kind of infusing the tartan into the wedding, the family tartans, and trying to understand, because obviously there's choices of modern tartans and the traditional classic tartans as well. So trying to understand the differences and how we can infuse that as well. So 100%, there's always an element of how we can work about it. Definitely.
So do you find it's more than the traditional sort of family link, or do you do it as more of a fashion style element to the wedding, or is it
So there's couples that will be particularly focused on bringing in the family heritage into the wedding,
Yeah.
and focus on that as a theme for the wedding or an element of the wedding. I had weddings that did that. I had weddings that wanted tartan to be for every person, a family resemblance there. So actually my best man's wedding, John and Andrew's wedding, they decided to invite all the guests and ask them to bring their family tartans to the wedding. But for the groomsmen's party, they had matching waistcoats, jackets, and matching ties.
Nice, yeah.
So that was how they infused that very Scottish element to use of tartan at their wedding. But I do have couples that go, oh, our family tartan is a little bit colourful. I would clash with far too many things there in the wedding.
So, no.
So they go a bit more kind of fashionable way, looking at the kind of more hybrid options that are available these days, a little bit more contemporary designs as well. And I mean, there's so much choice as well. I mean, especially this style is quite popular if you want to kind of keep a little bit. I actually looked over and I'm like, yes, that's a lot of what grooms, if they're not looking for a family resemblance, they're keeping something a little bit more delicate and gentle, fits in quite beautifully. Perfect placement.
Yes, well done.
Very well thought out.
And aside from the kilt, how else have you seen it worn to a wedding or as part of it?
So this is interesting. So I had a couple probably about years ago. The bride's parents unfortunately weren't there to experience the wedding anymore, unfortunately. And it was very important for the bride to introduce the family element into the wedding. So what the bride has actually done for the wedding, she had a dress and she had not a bolero as such, but a little coat just covering her shoulders. And it was actually the lining of the coat. So it was white and the same material as the dress, but the lining of the jacket was of the family tartan on the inside of that. So she had her family wrapping around for the celebration. So you can do so many different things with tartan. I mean, it could be just as little as a little ribbon. We obviously have got use of tartan in hand fasten with the tartans, and you can have family ribbons, family tartan ribbons infused into that as well. Suspenders, something that we have at the table here as well. You can have a lot of infusion there as well. Where I've seen tartan using the design of decor or the styling of the wedding. I did a wedding for a same-sex couple, two gents, Mark and Sean, 2018. It was after my wedding, and they actually had tartan ribbons on the chairs and the family tartan as well. It was to focus on the Scottish element again. They had whiskey bottles from different distilleries as the centerpieces, and the flowers fitted into the bottles as well. It was heavily Scottish elements of the wedding. What else? Table runners. You've got actually tablecloths a lot of the time now. Tartan designs as well. Ties I've talked about as well. Exactly in front of us.
There we go.
You've got anything from brogues to high heels can be tartan themed as well.
Because I think we chatted about this. This was like one of the first times we met, and we were saying that like maybe sometimes people that when you say tartan at a wedding, it's got to be everything. But like small touches, I think is sort of the way to go, isn't it?
100%. I mean, even for like the family of the wedding, and you get obviously and you get the buttonholes and stuff like that. Even having that element of the ribbon theme with the tartan can be quite a big. You've got cushions there, which I can see quite popularly as the ring bearing element as well. So there's so much you can do with the wedding.
Yeah, all the little touches there.
We've had more recently. We've had quite a few requests for pets at weddings. bow ties and things like that.
Of course.
Or the pet has a bit of a family tartan as well.
That is brilliant. Absolutely love that. I love towel weddings as well.
Oh, definitely.
It can go either way. It's fabulously
Yeah.
perfect or fabulously disastrous, but both ways is just as memorable.
You've got the whole family.
Well, exactly.
Definitely.
Every family member there. So I think I've got
Have we got
a
more
little more. I'm just
Sorry,
going to
I'm
have
just
a wee
like,
read.
not paying attention to the rest just come out.
So, we have a question from Claire. So Claire is saying, my family tartan is red and my partner's is mostly yellow. How can we make it in our wedding? Which I suppose is like what you said, where you look at your family tartans and you start to worry a little.
Yeah.
100%. It's about infusing the two colours, and you can either. So what's interesting in fashion is that there is such thing as clash of colours, and if you do it the right way, I've done one of the interviews a couple of weeks ago with a personal confidence and Tanya. We talked about really rich colours clashing together. It can be really quite tasteful and make a statement for the wedding, but also. Depends on the venue, depends on your location. Nature, a lot of tricks for you as well. So if you're going, very popular venues nowadays for weddings is barns and country style venues. Observe the nature of the estate of the venue in your season. So if your wedding is a year away from today, highly encourage couples to always go and see your venue a year before the wedding. You can have observation on what the nature does for you, what colours you can use, what flow you can use, what the weather's like, and so on and so forth. Now, coming back to your question about infusing the two colours, nature can do this for you. And if it is seasonal and you've got those colours infused aside, and nature does the job for you, then maybe infuse that into your centerpieces and work with the flowers matching together. I mean, yellow and red are not the worst of colours to work with when it comes to tartan. They work together, floral wise especially. I think you could infuse it beautifully as well. But I had a couple not that long ago. They infused colours not only in floristry, but they had flowers around candelabras and like a sort of style. But they also had their paper candles in colours. So you could have yellow, red candles, so that it inflicts the whole theme. Again, depends how heavy you want to go. You might want to go a little bit less intense, and you could maybe go with more pastel colours if you don't want to go too strong with that as well. It's about how it feels, and maybe actually what I would highly recommend for you to do, or I could help with as well, is putting together mood boards and identifying what you like, you dislike. Very quickly you will say, do you know what, that's a design for my wedding, and it works, and it ties in together as well. I hope I've answered your question.
No, I'm sure there's I would probably wouldn't have thought to sort of look around the venue, and then you can, well, I mean, that might answer your question straight away.
That's a good tip.
I think so. You know, if you're looking at venues, maybe even looking at venues that match this colour theme already for you, that's there. You know, if it's outdoors, then what the outdoors does for you. If the city centre, then what venues will have those two colours and their drape pens and their carpets and so on and so forth. So this could be quite interesting, actually.
Be a unique but beautiful family sort of base for your colour scheme.
100%.
It's really nice.
Good question.
Thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you. So we've spoken a bit about the kilt and sort of elements of tartan in the wedding, but we've noticed more and more in the shop as well, we're getting asked for more modern takes on the outfit rather than going the full head to toe traditional kilt. So what is your favourite alternative for the groom other than the kilt?
Tartan trews.
Yay!
I mean, there's nothing more beautiful. If I tend not feel uncomfortable, either not feel uncomfortable in a kilt, and I've had Scottish grooms that said it just doesn't work for me, or I had maybe a Scottish bride and an English or otherwise groom, not from Scotland, but they still want to give respect to the Scottish heritage and the wedding taking place in Scotland or elsewhere in the world. The tartan shoes is very comfortable. It's trousers, so they're easy to get about as well. And when you've got that kind of tax jacket to it, and then tartan shoes. Oh my goodness me, the photos that come out of that. And again, you've got that infusion of style and Scottish heritage in that as well. I think you can't tie that any better. Do I know of any other use of tartan with gents? Ties, definitely. Pocket squares. Yes, thank you. What else have I seen? Brogues. Oh, massive now. Tartan. I mean, I've got brogues. They've not got tartan. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it into the camera.
Get your shoes on screen
but
there.
You've got kind of elements of either of linens and different things as well. So tartan is becoming quite heavily introduced into brogues now as well. And obviously, brogues go with kilts, they go with trews, they go with suits as well. So it depends how heavy you want to go on the tartan with your male outfits, with your male fashion. But it can go as massive as kilt or Scotch trews, or it could be just little influences, ties or shoes and stuff like that. I mean, even for our wedding, our fathers had matching tartan ties, although they've not got the Scottish connection there, but we still want to have that theme going out as well.
Yeah, which is really nice. And we've like, even if you don't like your family tartan, there are always alternatives, like you say, that you know, if you don't you don't have to go for the bold yellow like Claire's partner, or you know, there's always a more muted version, or go for a more modern grey or something like that. So always ways to work around it.
100%.
And do you have a favourite tartan, or how would you wear tartan to a wedding?
So I'm going to be biased here because we had a bit of a theme for our wedding, and it was a lot about Cadbury purple. Now that was a trend back in the day for the colour theming, and we had quite a bit of that, not overly, but that's why we've decided to go with Pride of Scotland tartan. So because we've got that connection there, that is probably my favourite, because it brings so many memories about our wedding as well. But tartan these days, I do like a kilt, but very, very important special occasions, whether that's a friend's wedding or awards that I've been to, I would have worn kilts. I've worn kilt to 2 of my graduations in the past as well.
Amazing.
But apart from that, I do like to infuse tartan, and I've got ties, I've got I need to get tartan brogues. I don't have that yet, but that's something to still happen. But yeah, use of ribbons and buttonholes as well is a good way of using that. So that's probably how I would go. If I was going to an event, it would either be a ribbon on the buttonhole, or some elements of the outfit that isn't necessarily a kilt.
So it's a smaller, like an accessory.
Absolutely.
No, it's always nice to sort of step into tartan lightly, if it's, because I mean, for some people it's quite daunting. It's a very pattern.
So I've worn it before. It can be a bit scary.
Suppose when you come into a wedding, and I'm not Scottish myself, and we don't have kilts and hire for our wedding, it's quite hard to kind of do that. But at the same time, you don't want to upset the bride, you don't want to upset the groom either. So it's quite nice just to have elements of that. And we actually, for our friend's wedding in 2019, we had ties matching to the family tartan as well. So just little touches make such a difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. So thank you so much for giving us, I mean, lots of tips for the couples out there that are maybe at the start of their wedding journey and haven't sort of got all the way down to the altar yet. And lots of things to sort of think about.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope I was helpful.
Something else just come up.
Oh, another. Sorry if we were about to cut you off there. So hello also to Linda, Shirley, Janet and Mark for also joining us. Thank you so much. And I hope that you've all picked up some some
Yeah.
things
It's been
as well.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
And like you said, Oscar, you can join us back again tomorrow if you didn't get enough tonight.
I'll be grilling these ones tomorrow.
The other way around.
Roles will be
Tomorrow.
reversed. So
Yes.
Susan and I are a little nervous for our first time being interviewed.
I know.
But yeah, so we will share Oscar's website down below. Macarena will pop a link in, and so you can see like the blog, like you mentioned before, and then also catch up on some of these other interviews to get some ideas.
Definitely.
But yes, please join us tomorrow night, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again very soon.